everybody. Welcome to Elmwood Park Zoo. On today's episode of Zoo School Live, we're going to be doing a quick tour of our Birds of Paradise exhibit. So before we get started, we're going to give Margaret a minute to get our birds all set up out on the exhibit, and I'm just going to give you a quick preview of a couple different types of birds you might see today. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet, so that way I don't spoil the surprise. But we got a couple feathers here I'm going to show you. Got this nice blue and gold one. You'll be seeing her in just a few moments. This is also from her. And then we've got a couple smaller ones. So these are obviously going to belong to some smaller sized birds. All right, and now we're going to go ahead and take you on a tour through the Birds of Paradise.
I would like you to meet our sun conures. So these are sun conures. They are also called sun parakeets sometimes. They are obviously super colorful. That's where they got their name. They've got that super bright yellow, pretty color that looks like the sun. They actually have every color of the rainbow except for purple on them. So they've got green, yellow, blue, red, and orange. Now, these guys are a flock species, meaning that they typically live in groups. So in the wild, you would usually find them in groups of about 20 or 30 birds. In the Bird of Paradise exhibit right now, we have a flock of 14 birds. So all of these guys in this flock are males. We don't have any ladies with them because we don't want to have them breeding in here just yet. That could cause some aggression and some territorial issues with them. So they are all boys. So we're going to take a little walk around and see if we can see them do some cute stuff. Of course, they're all on the ground right now. Now, sun conures in general are going to be from South America in the northeastern part. They're typically found in either Brazil or Guyana. There are not a whole lot of them left in the wild, unfortunately. They are endangered. They actually don't know how many of them there are in the wild left, but they do know that there are more in captivity than there are in the wild at this time. So these are a very, very popular pet. A lot of people have them in their homes. They're typically found, the reason that they are not so much in the wild anymore because they're so endangered is because of the pet trade. So a lot of people have taken them out of the wild and use them for breeding and to put in people's homes as pets, unfortunately. So that is a main cause of why they're endangered. Now, let's see if we can get them to come up on the trees a little bit. Conures! Conures! Good job! Now, if we want to pan down here too, we can show you our newest guests in the Bird of Paradise exhibit. These guys are called silver teals. We have a male and a female. Their names are Sam and Gilly. That's Sam there getting out of the water. You can tell he's the male because he has a bit of yellow on his bill. The female in the water there does not have any yellow on her bill. It's all blue. Now, we're not 100% sure if these guys will be staying in the Bird of Paradise exhibit. They are a little bit skittish still, so we're just doing a bit of a test run to see if they're gonna be comfortable and happy here. So that is why they're here right now during this time, which is a great time to be test running because you don't have a lot of people coming through here, obviously, so they can learn their surroundings and get a little bit more comfortable. Here and say hello to some more friends. Now, in the wild, these guys are typically going to be eating fruits and nuts and vegetables, some leafy greens. Sometimes they'll eat the occasional insect, but for the most part, they are herbivorous. I have a little sample diet, so let me go grab that for you guys. little example of a small diet that they would eat during their day here at Elmwood Park Zoo. So you can see we've got some fruit, some veggies, we've got some lettuce, and then this is Missouri parrot, and that gives them all the nutrients that they need, and then a little bit of millet in there as well, so to get that seed diet in, and it's also a good treat for them. They really like it. So. Now, as some of you might know, if you've ever been to this exhibit before, we typically do feeding in here. Unfortunately, we're not sure if we're going to be able to do feeding with them this summer. I know. Can we get off, please? We're not going to be able, we might not be able to do feeding with them this summer because of everything going on with the pandemic, but we're hopeful that we will still be able to do some walkthroughs with them and have you guys see them up close as well. They're very curious little guys. They're very interested in everything that we've got going on. Now we can also see our friend Azul in here. If you guys tuned in to Zoo School Live last week, you might have met her. She is a blue and gold macaw, and she likes to hang out here with these guys when they're on exhibit. Now I can give you a little example of what we do when we are feeding in the Bird of Paradise exhibit. So typically we use these cups so that people don't have to have their hands exposed, because these guys do have very strong beaks and we don't want anybody's fingers getting in the way. So when we do feeding, we put a little bit of fruit onto the cup and we call them over, and usually, partners, there we go. They're very into coming over and eating the fruit. That's a lot of birds. Thanks, guys. Very well done. Get out, please. Thank you. Now we do also train these guys to do some tricks. Typically the reason that we train any of our animals to do tricks in the zoo here are for their health. So a lot of their tricks that they do are to help us look at parts of their body and make sure that they are healthy. So I'll show you a couple of the things that they're able to do. Now almost everybody in here is trained to do a wave. So that helps us look at the bottom of their feet. You do a wave? Good job. Yep, and then a lot of them, not every single one, but most of them in here can also do a spin. He's going to do it nice and slow there. Can we do a spin? There we go. So that's going to help us look at the back. When they spin around, we can look at their tail and their back and make sure everything looks healthy. Now these guys, for obviously purposes of being able to live in this bird exhibit and fly to people when they are in here using the food cups, we also have them trained to fly towards us. So typically when we put our hand out and say, excuse me, what are you doing? You can't leave anything around for them or they will absolutely destroy it. Now that's a really good example of why these guys are pretty tricky pets to have, and I definitely would not recommend them as a pet in your house. Obviously I talked a little bit about the fact that they're endangered and the pet trade is causing a lot of decline in their numbers. So that's one factor in itself, but they're also very, I would say the word is destructive. They like to chew, they like to shred anything they can get their hands on, they want to mess with. They're very curious little guys, very smart. But they're also very strong and their beaks are very sharp and they like to tear up things. So I definitely would not recommend them as a pet. They need a lot of attention. You can see they do really well in a flock. They like to be friends with each other. They want to be in a big group. So if you have just one in your house, that's pretty sad because they definitely do better in large groups. Now all of them in here are 5 years old, so they have all been together for their entire life. All right, guys, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to exit out the birdhouse. We're going to go hang out in front of it and see a couple more of our parrot friends, different species, and we'll take some of your questions. So if you follow me on out here, we'll say bye to our little golden seals. Say bye to Azul on the other side. waiting for us are a couple that I think you guys guys have met on Zoo School before as well, but we didn't have them for a very long episode, so we figured we'd show you them again. Because they're super cool. So these are our Amazon parrots, Rex and Buckwheat. That's Rex, this is Buckwheat, and they're just going to hang out with us while we answer some questions from you guys today.
All right, so our first question today is from Gavin. He says, can they talk, Margaret?
Can the sun conures talk? That's such a good question. No, they really can't. So large parrots like Buckwheat here, can you say hello? Hello. There we go. Are obviously good at mimicking and talking, but sun conures not so much. Obviously they are very loud. They scream a lot. They have a lot of different noises that they make to communicate with each other in the flock, but they don't really do a lot of talking.
Our next question today is from Carla, and she asks if the males have different colors from the females. I'll take a turn and answer that one. So parrots are what's called monomorphic, which means that both male and female have the same exact color patterns. So although people like to say that they may see some differences, like there is a theory that the females have a little bit shorter tails than the males. However, you have to get very close to notice that difference. So no, our males and females do not have different colors, so it is definitely difficult to tell them apart unless you know them personally. Our next question today is from Rebecca. How small are they?
How small are they? I like that question. So as parrots go, they are a bit on the smaller side. You can see we have some larger parrots. They typically will weigh between 100 and 130 grams. So that's medium to small sized. So compared to other parrots, I would say they're on the small side. They also have about a 5 to 6 inch wingspan, so that's pretty small compared to Azul over there, who has a 4-foot wingspan.
All right, our next question today is from Liam and Ronan. They would like to know, what do they eat in the wild, and do they eat meat? No, they do not eat meat. So our parrots here are herbivorous, although they are known to sometimes snack on some insects in the wild. They do mostly stick to fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, nuts, and seeds.
Ooh. Every now and then they'll get the occasional insect in the wild, but I wouldn't call them meat eaters even with that.
Next question is from Holly. How do you tell them apart?
The sun conures? So it's a little bit difficult since they all do look really, really similar. Here at Elmwood Park Zoo, all of our sun conures are banded, so they all have a number that corresponds to their name. So for example, we have a bird named Nut. His number is 25. So you can always tell if you look at his band and it says 25 that he is Nut. So I can't personally tell them apart very well just by looking at them. Some of them I can, some of them look a little different, but for the most part, you just have to look at their band to tell them apart.
And then our next question is a good one from Zachary. He would like to know if they get enrichment. Yes, Zachary, they do. They get lots of enrichment. So the whole purpose of enrichment is to recreate their natural behaviors that they would show in the wild. That would be stuff including being able to trim their beaks, shredding things to create nesting. They also like to listen to different sounds, so sometimes we will play music for them. We also have a lot of different toys. So our toys are made out of a lot of different material. We have rope, wood, we have plastic, some metal shiny things. They definitely like to hear bells ring. So our enrichment, we definitely load their cages with every day, so that way they have plenty of stuff to play with and recreate what they naturally would be doing in the wild. Next question we have from Everett. Do they all have names?
They do all have names. All 14 of them do. I probably won't rattle off all 14 of them. Buckwheat just laughed at me. What, you want me to? But a few of their names, we've got Nut, Kine, Richard, Gideon, Pigpen, Monster, Jack, Chubbs Jr. That's all I got off the top of my head right now. But yes, all of our birds have names, and all of their names correspond to a number.
Another question from Joseph. Can any of the birds swim?
I don't think so. I don't know parrots that can swim. So I would say no, they cannot swim. I think they would be in some trouble if they flew into the water.
Another question from Cameron. We have, are they endangered and do they have predators? So yes, unfortunately our parrots are endangered, mostly due to the illegal pet trade, as Margaret mentioned before. A lot of people want these guys as pets, so they are being removed from their homes in the wild and bred so that way people have them as pets at home. So yes, they are endangered. And then as for your next question about whether or not they have any predators, yes. So parrots are actually, because of, as you can see, Rex is a fairly large size. He is very easy to spot in the wild, so his predators would include birds of prey. That could be anything like hawks or eagles. We also have large cats would possibly be their predators in the wild if they catch them while they're in the trees or foraging on the ground. And then our next question from Rebecca. How long does it take them to eat?
How long does it take them to eat? I like that question. It really depends. Sometimes they are very, very quick about it. They'll usually clean off all of the food that we give them in about an hour, but that's with them throwing a lot of it on the floor and then later on, yeah, you think so? And then later on going back down onto the ground to forage for it. So as we were saying earlier, their main way of getting food is foraging. So a lot of their food will fall on the floor, especially in the wild. They eat ripe fruit. So they do have to go back down and get it when they drop it on the ground here, so that prolongs the time that it takes them to eat a little bit. So I would say usually they'll finish off all of their food in about an hour.
Our next question today is from RJ. He would like to know how long their beaks are. That's a very good question, RJ. However, I can tell you we have not personally measured their beaks, but if I were to guess, our sun conures beaks, I would maybe say about an inch long. They do hook, so they don't look as long as they would be. And then for Rex and Buckwheat right here, I would maybe say about 2 inches at best. I'd be pushing it a little bit. However, for Azul, our blue and gold macaw, her beak definitely reaches closer to about 3 inches. Next question from Faith. What is their wingspan?
So sun conure wingspan is usually somewhere between 5 or 6 inches. They have very quick, short, direct flight. So they're very fast, very directed when they fly. So they need those nice little wings to help them get from one place to another. And then these guys, I think their wingspan is about 2 feet. And Miss Azul, I think I said earlier, is about 4 feet. So Azul has by far the largest parrot wingspan that we've got here.
All right, and it looks like we are down to our last 3 questions for today. Our first one, it says, do they have teeth? And that question is from Donna. That is a very good question, Donna. However, I will tell you that would be terrifying if they had teeth. I am glad they don't. Their beaks are strong enough, so that way they don't actually need teeth to be able to help grind up or chew their food. They use their beaks, their feet, and their tongues, which actually have a bone inside of them to help manipulate and move around items, as well as breaking them down in order to digest them. Our next question. Sandra would like to know, how many eggs do they lay?
Awesome question. Conures will typically lay 3 or 4 eggs. They'll actually lay them over an interval of a couple days. So usually they'll lay 1 egg and then wait 1 or 2 days, lay another egg, wait 1 or 2 days, then lay another one. So they don't lay them all at once. That would be a lot on their body and system. But they actually have a very high fertility rate too. So if their egg clutch does not hatch or something happens to it, they can immediately start again and try to lay more eggs. So yeah, they typically lay about 3 or 4 eggs.
All right, and our last question for today is from Mason. He would like to know, what kind of flowers do they like?
I thought that was a funny question. You know, I don't know specifically what type of flowers. Sometimes we give them hibiscus flowers here. They don't usually do a whole lot with those. So I personally have never seen them eat any flowers in particular. I don't know if Kara seems to agree with that. So off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't think they like flowers for the most part, but in the wild they might have eat a few of them. So guys, I think that was our last question. Hello. You have to say goodbye now. That's the wrong word. Thank you guys so much for joining us for your school today. has been so fun to show you the Bird of Paradise exhibit, and it was awesome talking to you guys. Have a good one.